Seeing these videos helps so much. Like, if you just like talk about it without the videos, I'll get opinion.
Yeah, like maybe you'll get it without the video, but with the video, it's kind of impossible not to get it. So let me show you some professional players first. I want you to notice the angle of his racket face, and I'm going to stop at a couple kind of key positions and ask you what the angle is. Meaning, like, are the strings facing down, are they flat, or are they facing up? And then I'm also going to ask you to describe the path of the racket in terms of how far below the ball is he getting and how much is he lifting. We're just going to look at those two things. So, right here on his unit turn, how would you describe the angle of his racket face? It's definitely angled down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not flat. It's definitely not open.
Yeah.
This is the hitting, side of it.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay, so this is like his setup, his coil or his preparation. His racket face is probably like about here, I would say. I don't know, maybe 15 degrees, closed or something like that. Maybe 20, something like that. All right, so as his hands drop and he starts going down towards the ball, how would you describe the angle of his racket now? Is it still closed? Is it flat?
Slightly closed.
Yeah, I agree. Still slightly closed. Now at the bottom of his swing, how would you describe the angle of his racket?
I think still a bit closed.
Definitely. Yeah, this is the part of the racket that's going to be hitting the ball. They're actually angled down towards the court. So he's gone from like slightly closed to maybe a little bit less to now right before the hit quite a bit. Like he's maybe 45 degrees here with the angle of his strings. And now at this point, he's going to start going up towards the ball. So I'm going to draw a circle at contact and then go back. And we're going to look at the angle that he's lifting his racket. So from the bottom through contact, he's raising his racket at about that angle. However steep that angle is how much he's going to spin the ball. If the angle was like the yellow line, then he wouldn't make any spin. He could hit it really hard, but it would be a really direct, flat shot. If his path was like the blue line, then he'd be making way more spin because it's a steeper angle up towards the ball. Okay, so here's his take back. How'd you describe the angle of his racket? Yep. Probably a little bit more than Novak's was.
Yeah.
Now, as he drops his racket, how would you describe the angle of his strings? Sorry, it's kind of blurry.
Still closed.
Yep, definitely still closed. It might not be quite as much, but it's not neutral. It's definitely facing down. Now, look at this. Here's where he's hitting the ball. How would you describe the strings there?
Still closed.
Yep, a little bit. Not a ton, but yeah, definitely a little bit closed. So right about here is where he's hitting the ball.
Yeah.
Look at how low he's dropping his racket.
Oh, yeah.
He's like way below the ball.
I noticed his backhand has like a bit more topspin.
Definitely. So this is going to make way more curve and way more bend in the shot. So let's go to like your coil or like your take back position. Your racket right now is flat, maybe slightly closed. As you take it back, where are your strings facing right now? Yeah, super open. This almost looks like you're getting ready to hit a slice, like you're getting ready to like let go and like drop and come through. But this is your drive. So the problem with the strings being open or facing upwards like this is the only way to make topspin is to get them square by the time the racket gets to the ball, which means that somewhere between now and when the racket gets to the ball, we've got to do a bunch of work with the hands to get them closed so that we can actually hit the ball up without it just like launching into the ceiling. Because if the ball, for whatever reason, hit the racket right now, it would literally like go up into the ceiling. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But the problem is we have to figure out how to close it some point between now and when you hit the ball. And usually you do, but this adds a lot of volatility.
Yeah.
Like it adds a lot of complication that we don't need to have there.
Yeah.
So on the way down, you start to close it. It's still slightly open, not quite neutral yet. By contact, at the very minimum, we need it neutral. It has to be at least flat, maybe even a little bit closed if we want to make a lot of topspin. So right about here, I would say you get to neutral. So at least we're at neutral now. But remember, Rafa and Novak at this point were actually facing downwards. And what that gives them is the ability to drop lower and really come up aggressively without worrying about launching the ball too far. But when your racket is just flat and it's not closed at all, you got to be really careful about launching it too far. And so that means that most of your backhands are very straight. So here's your contact. It's neutral, so that's good. You probably made this shot. But when your racket only drops this low,
Yeah.
below the ball, before coming up,
Yeah.
like, are you swinging low to high? Yeah. Is it very much?
No.
Not really. It's enough to make some rotation, but it's not going to be enough to really curve it much to where you're going to have a little bit safer of a shot. So this is why your backhand travels way lower and way straighter. And your forehand, on average, is a lot higher and has a lot more curve. It's because on your forehand, you close your racket before you make your upward swing. And on your backhand, you're like starting here, and it's like, man, if we don't get it square like in time, you're gonna send the ball like into the back curtain.
Yeah.
And so that's why you've kind of developed a little bit straighter swing, because you don't have a whole lot of room to work with in terms of like how open or closed your racket is.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't think you need to change your grip at all. Your grip is plenty far. If anything, like the fact that you're opening your racket, it's a pretty aggressive move, honestly, like with your left hand, that you're kind of flipping your hand upwards. So the first thing I want you to practice is going from your normal ready position to a backhand coil position with the racket face closed. Yep, that's probably a little bit aggressive. As long as it's facing down a little bit, we're good. I mean, right now, you're like here. So to be totally honest, even if we get square, like that's a win, but I'd love to see it a couple degrees closed. We don't need it like this, like that would be excessive. So let's practice going to like, yeah, that's nice. I like that. So show me a couple practice takebacks. Yeah, that looks nice. Just the takeback for right now. Yep. Yep. Does that feel weird? Good. Good. A few more of those. I just want you to get familiar with what that feels like to take it back square. One more. All right, good. Nice job. So here. It's looking good. So it's going back just to about square right now.
Yeah.
Maybe slightly closed. Let me check that last one. Yeah, it's closed just like a couple of degrees. That would be great. So now phase 2 is from here. We want to get your racket head and your hands down a little bit lower. Let's aim for about knee height with your racket head.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Good. Now go ahead and finish the rest of the swing. Yep. Keep that same speed. That's really nice. So, it's crazy, right? So, before, your first move was to open your racket face, and now is the last one you just did. Your first move is to bring the racket back. That just looks like a better tennis player, right?
It does.
On the left. So this is setting yourself up to not worry so much about launching the ball, and also setting yourself up to have the potential to swing way more vertically and not worry about sending it too far. You've gotten pretty good at this, but it's just really hard to get it square in time, and then everything ends up being really flat and straight. Whereas on this one, watch how when you drop your racket head, now your left hand is dropping to the bottom, and now your strings are angled down. So now we have the ability to really come up at the ball and do it confidently because the racket face is closed. We don't have to worry about launching the ball. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I want you to practice 2 slow, smooth shadow swings, just like you're doing right now. Those are looking really good. You're managing the angle of the racket and the drop of the racket really well. After the second one, then I'm just gonna toss underhand to you, and we're gonna hit 4 of them. And all I want you to think about is just trying to do the same angle and the same drop when I toss the ball. If you do the same angle and the same drop, but the ball goes in the net, that's fine. It's still big success, okay? I don't care where the ball goes. I just want you to do it right. All right, so show me 2 practice ones. Yep. Closed racket face and a drop. Here we go. Now, same thing. Closed racket face and drop. Yeah, good. Do it again. Same thing. Yep. You hear the sound that's making? What's the difference in feel?
It's like more of a spinning feel.
That's right. What did it feel like before?
Just like fun, like it's one simple sound.
That's what it was. Yep. This is totally different. You're doing a really good job of just continuing to do the right thing. Dude, it's a huge change. You're killing it. It's not easy to do this.
Yeah.
You're really managing a lot. So here's your old take back. And here's your new take back. You're opening it up just a tiny bit up there, but it's way better. And now the drop starts with the face flat on the way down. And so when you get down to the bottom here, now your racket's closed and your left hand's on the bottom. That's why it feels spinny. Whereas your old one, your left hand never got to the bottom and your racket was flat. So that's why this one makes lots of spin, because the racket is closed and you're coming from down here and up through contact. Whereas the old one, we were coming from here and forwards to contact.
Seeing these videos helps so much. Like, if you just like talk about it without the videos, I'll get it.
Yeah, like maybe you'll get it without the video, but with the video, it's kind of impossible not to get it because it's so obvious right in front of you.
Yeah.
So that's why this one feels so different, and that's why it sounds different, and that's why it looks different, is because you're coming at it from a totally different angle.
I love the sound.
Yeah, it is. It's super satisfying. So old backhand and new backhand. It's really totally different. I want you to do 2 practice ones, and then I'll feed you 4 shots from the ball machine. I just want you to try to do them all exactly the same, exactly the way you just did your last ones. All right, one more of those. All right, here we go. Try to do the same movement with the ball. Good job. One more. All right, good job. It's tougher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we start off on the service line, easy tosses. Now it's kind of more like real life. The ball's coming from a lot further. The judgment's tougher. Bounces are tougher. So let's check your last couple here. So a lot of these, it looks to me like you're just kind of hitting off center a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've changed a lot, honestly. So it doesn't bother me at all. I know it doesn't feel good. As long as the movements are what we want, then we're moving in the right direction. Might be a tiny bit open, but it's real close. Real close to square, which is good. Like the minimum is square. This is I think you're a couple degrees open, but it's really close. Left hand's a little bit below the right. Racket's a little bit closed. So those are all good. And notice how the ball keeps hitting the top. And that's because you're not used to the racket starting so low. So it's just a little bit lower than you're expecting when you get to contact. So you're going to work that out. So I'd like to see, let's do some more. I'd like to see the angle of the racket a little more closed on the take back. And I'd like to see the left hand drop a little bit lower than the right than it is now. That was a little bit more open on the take back. That's better. Good, that's better, that's better. That's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, 2 practice ones. Yep. Yep, now 4 balls. Nice, June. Good job.
I feel like a robot.
It's weird, right? Because your body's used to doing something different, so you kind of have to make it do the new thing.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part about changing a technique. So here's the backhand you just hit. Here's your old one. So here's the old take back. It really, dude, it looks like a slice. It looks like
I never saw it.
it looks like you're getting ready to hit a one-handed slice. All right, here's the new one. We're slightly opening it here, but this is a big move in the right direction. So over time, like as you continue to work on this, A, make sure you don't go back to this. But B, I'd love for you to keep working on closing it more and more and more, at least to where we get to 90 degrees. On your old one, you got a lot of ground to cover to close that face. You see how open it still is? Eventually you do get it square, but just in time to kind of just go forwards into the shot. And so now your racket is closed much earlier, and now your left hand is dropping below your right. And so we have a closed face here and a low racket, and that's why you're starting to hit with that extra curve and spin.
Yeah,
It's really totally different. So you're doing a great job managing all this. When you go home and you work on it, this is where I want most of your attention to go to. So make sure we're taking it back square and not letting it creep open again. Because if you keep letting it creep open, you'll probably find yourself back here again. After a couple weeks probably, you'll just go back to the old habit because that's just what you're used to.